Good morning, this is Kris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and you're listening to Coffee with Kris, the time of the day where we share a cup of coffee and share a bit of the Word of God. This is Tuesday, the third Sidra, third Aliyah of this Torah portion of Ekev, which means because, and is taken from Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 4, all the way to chapter 29. But we're just going to tackle verses 4 through 6 in chapter 9 of Deuteronomy. I think if I could sum up this Torah portion, I would sum it up as this. Hey guys, you're not all that. You're not all that in a bag of chips. So let me read to further explain what I meant by that. All right, so it says in Deuteronomy chapter 9, verses 4 through 6, don't think to yourself, after your God has pushed them out ahead of you, those wicked Canaanites that's squatting on the land that God promised to them, right? Don't think to yourself, after your God has pushed them out ahead of you, it is to reward my righteousness that Adonai has brought me into taking possession of this land. You know, don't think that you're getting this land because you're good guys. This is not a good guy, bad guy scenario. This is not a clear-cut black and white scenario. The Canaanites are wicked. The Israelites are wicked. I mean, remember all the different stories we read about them worshiping other gods, Baal Peor, complaining and about not having food and water, and their ingratitude, and they're wanting to kill Moses and wanting to go back to Egypt, and thirsting and hungering for the things of Egypt, and the rebellions that took place. They're not so good guys. They're not so righteous themselves. But we can think in concrete terms, good guy, bad guy, black and white, righteous, unrighteousness. Just because he's pushing out the Canaanites doesn't mean that you're the good guys. You're just the lesser of two evils, is what God is trying to say. The Canaanites are wicked, you're wicked, but it just so happens that the Canaanites are more wicked than you. So don't think to yourself after your God has pushed them out ahead of you, it is to my reward and my righteousness that Adonai has brought me to take possession of this land. No, it is because these nations have been so wicked that Adonai is driving them out ahead of you. It is not because of your righteousness or because your heart is so upright that you go in to take possession of the land, but to punish the wickedness of these nations that Adonai your God is driving them out ahead of you, and also to confirm the word or to keep the promise, rather, which Adonai swore to your ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I promised I would bring their ancestors into this land. I'm keeping my word. Even though you're evil, you're not as bad as the Canaanites. So I'm going to keep my word to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Okay, finally, verse 6. Therefore, understand that it is not for your righteousness that Adonai your God is giving you this good land to possess. He's basically telling the Israelites, you're not all that. You're not all that in a bag of chips. Just because I love you, just because I chose you to be a holy separated nation, doesn't mean that you're all that. Doesn't mean that you're squeaky clean. You're just not as evil as the Canaanites that I'm casting out before you. So far, through this week, we've talked about obedience, we've talked about being thoughtful and being grateful, and now the focus in this Sidra, this Aliyah, is humility. You know, knowing your place, knowing where you came from, knowing who and how you really are, and who you are dependent upon. So this is humility. And remember, in the last Aliyah, it said that God tested them in the wilderness in order to humble them, to keep them humble. So, God says, be ye holy, for I am holy. That's easy for God because God is holy. That is his default character trait. He's just holy because he is. He wants us to be like him, but we just can't be holy because we're fallen and wicked people. So what's the gateway? What's the pathway to put our first footstep on in order to become holy, to work towards holiness? I believe that doorway, that gateway, that first step is humility. Humility is the key to holiness. So that's what we're striving for here. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. Shalom and God bless.